Hello, I'm Kasia Zabawa, Deputy Director of the Manhattan Institute Center for State and Local Leadership. I'm here with Nicole Gelinas, Senior Fellow at the Manhattan Institute and Contributing Editor to City Journal. Nicole, come Memorial Day, we're going to see 5,500 new bikes and 300 docking stations across the city. New York is going to have one of the largest bike share programs in the world. You've written about this for the New York Post as well as streetsblog.org. Can you tell us a little bit more about the program?
Yes, Kasia, after 2 years of planning, bike share is finally coming to New York starting Monday. The way this will work is for $95 a year, or you can buy a day pass or a week pass. You can take a bike out of one docking station, either in Midtown, downtown, or parts of Brooklyn, ride it to your destination, dock your bike at the destination, and then go about your business.
So, not many commuters currently use bikes as a way of getting around. Who's going to be using city bikes?
Well, that's a good question. The measure of success will be if people do use it to commute. This is not meant to be recreational biking. You are supposed to use it to go to your job, to go to a movie, and so forth. Right now, about 1 to 3% of people use bikes to get around. The city and state statistics say it's about 1% of people, compared to almost 60% who take the subway. The Manhattan Institute poll that we recently did, about 3% of people reported using a bike every day. So the city would like to get these statistics up from 1 to 3%, to a good 5 to 6%, and that would be a measure of commuting success.
So New York is not the first large metropolis to adopt such a program. We have successful programs all over the US, including Washington, D.C. and Boston, but you compare New York to a foreign city. Why compare New York to Paris, and what lessons can be learned?
Yes, there's two reasons why it's better for us to compare our bike share to Paris than to Boston or Washington or even London. The first reason is that New York and Paris have almost identical population density. So if you're thinking of how many people are competing on the streets for the same space, we look closer to Paris than to anywhere in the United States. The second reason is that both New York and Paris have had a decade of history of improving traffic safety statistics. Traffic deaths in Paris have gone from more than 100 a year to a little bit more than 60 a year before they started bike share. We've gone from 700 in 1990 down to less than 300 last year. So both cities have a recent history of better measures to calm traffic to make pedestrians as well as bikers safer before they start the program.
So speaking of safety, I'm holding up Bike Smart, which is the official guide to cycling in New York City. It's filled with bike safety tips and laws. Do you think the city is doing enough to educate riders about the hazards of riding on busy New York streets?
The city is doing some, but we need to learn one thing from Paris, which is that Paris's bike share is very successful. Many women use the program in contrast to the stereotypical 30-something male who is an urban cyclist in many cities. But there's a flip side to that, which is when you get a lot of cyclists who don't have experience on the city streets, they put themselves in danger, and we've seen that in Paris. The first year of the program had 3 deaths, all women, all with a large vehicle, either a truck or a bus, that was making a turn. Overall, in 6 years, they've had 8 deaths. And so one thing that the city, New York, needs to learn from that is tell people right on the handlebars, watch out for turning trucks. Don't assume a truck driver can see you. Indeed, assume that the truck driver can't see you, and stop outside of the truck's blind spot and wait for the truck to make its turn.
And do pedestrians need to be worried about getting hit by bikes?
Well, pedestrians should always be careful, but statistically they don't have a risk from bike share, or really from bikes at all. If you look at this numbers in New York, in nearly 4 years, no pedestrian has been killed by a bicyclist in the city. Contrast that to 597 people who have been killed by cars or trucks. There's an understandable reason why people are afraid of bicyclists. They often go the wrong way, they speed around corners, they act unpredictably, but bike share bikes will actually reduce that, because these are slow, clunky bikes. These are people who historically in other cities follow the traffic rules, and so them being on the streets will make the delivery cyclers and the racing cyclers act better, because they can't go the wrong way if everyone else is going the right way. It's like a fish swimming upstream.
Right. There's over 700 miles of dedicated bike lanes in the city now. Some of them are on major avenues. What impact do bike lanes have on city traffic now, and are we going to see a lot more bike lanes as a result of this program?
Bike lanes are the safest place for a bicyclist to ride. A protected lane where you don't have to worry about someone opening a cab door, you crash into it, you go over the handlebars. The good news is the city has built many of them. As you said, you can ride up the far west side or the far east side on a protected lane. The bad news is it's still a patchwork. So if you want to go downtown and then you want to go across town, you'll be riding in city traffic on your crosstown route, and that's obviously not as safe. The cycling advocates think that the more people are on bikes, the more they will be advocating for more bike lanes, and that's probably true, but to make room on the streets for more bike lanes, the city has to do other types of traffic enforcement too, making sure that trucks aren't dwelling outside loading docks, addressing double parked cars, double parked trucks and so forth, so that there's room for everybody.
Right. More and more cities are adopting these programs. What are the benefits for New York City, and is Citi Bike going to be profitable?
The benefit over time is that having more slow people on the streets in contrast to fast-moving trucks and cars makes everybody safer. And we've seen that in Paris, as I said before bike share, they had more than 60 traffic deaths a year. Now it's down to between 40 and 50 every year. And why is that? Because when cars and trucks have to watch out for bikes, they're also being more careful of pedestrians. They're going more slowly and carefully. That makes everybody safer, including the people in the cars and the trucks. Will it be profitable? It's supposed to. The idea that the city has is that the private company that's running this will pay for all the costs. It will make a profit. It will fund the program. It is not profitable in Paris because of all of the vandalism that they've seen. The city has had to make contributions to the program. We shouldn't have as much vandalism here because we have a better culture of less property crime. Exactly. But if it doesn't make a profit and people still like it in a few years, it's quite likely the city will start to subsidize it as it subsidizes other things. So the measure of success may be usage and safety, not so much the profit.
Okay. So we're going to see a lot more bikes come Memorial Day. Any last words for bikers and the city?
I would say for the city in general, this will be a big deal. If you think about perhaps 30,000 people who bike on the Midtown streets every day today, this could easily double that if each of these bikes is rented 5 times a day. For the cyclists, if there's one thing they should know, it's watch out for trucks. That is their big, that's the big danger they face. So if they know that, they're automatically safer.
And as you said, urban cycling is not a game. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Kasia.
And you can read Nicole's articles about this issue as well as other transportation issues on our website at manhattan-institute.org.